If I'm not going to be a leader, then maybe I don't have to grow. But if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to be somebody that people follow, you've got to grow. And the beautiful thing is, we've talked about this before, but the beautiful thing is you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to even be that great, okay? You just got to be growing. If somebody's growing, I want to hitch my wagon to the person that's growing. That person keeps growing, they're going to pass up everybody else. So when you talk about grow and change, the first change is what I call the blahs. If you're not in the blahs in some area of your life, I'm going to challenge you, you're probably not going to grow in that area. There's got to be some insight in an area that needs to change. That's where some area you're saying, I don't like this. And then you've got to fight the decision to change. You got to grow in that area, but we fight the decision to change. I got to grow in my prospecting, but I fight the decision to change. I got to grow in my people skills, but I fight the decision to change. You'll find so many people that will live a comfortable, uncomfortable. They'll live in a life that they don't like, they don't want, whatever, but they're comfortable with that uncomfortableness. And the uncomfortableness to change is more work than they're willing to do. So they settle for the cool, uncomfortable. See, it's easier to settle for who you are than it is to become who you were meant to be. So until the pain of remaining the same is greater than the pain of change, we will choose to remain the same. You've got to mentally create a paradigm in your brain that is so bad where you're at right now that you're unwilling to go through that anymore. Once the pain of remaining the same is more than the pain of change, you'll change. I'm going to challenge you. You've got to get way more uncomfortable with where you're at, whether where you're at position-wise, where you're at income-wise, or where your life's at, what you're doing for other folks, okay? Lining up with your purpose, okay? You've got to get way more uncomfortable with that. Otherwise, we can't move forward. I'm going to strongly suggest that you think about that uncomfortableness before you go to sleep. Okay. You think about it when you wake up. You think about the changes you need to make in a positive mind frame versus a negative mind frame. Don't focus on the work that's involved with making those changes. Focus on the reward that's coming from that, and focus on the pain that's going to happen in your life if you don't change. I would run scenarios in my brain if I don't change my current situation, here's how life's going to be 5 years from now. And I'd make it way worse than it probably would be, but I had to create the energy to change. Once you've gotten sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're no longer willing to be stuck in that rut, okay? You're at a point where you don't want to drive a stake in the ground. I was here and now I'm here, okay? I'm no longer willing to just stay over here. I'm driving a stake in the ground. This is no longer me. This is no longer acceptable. I do not see myself as that human anymore. Then you go through the blues. The change means movement, and movement produces friction. For us to move down the path for our dreams, for our goals, for our different life, that means we've got to do stuff different. That means we got to move. That means we got to do the things we don't feel like doing. Change is work. So when we're going through this work, we start regretting it. Now you're in that mode, okay? You're not going to get instant results, and you're realizing that change is work, okay? And you start regretting the change. It's easier to fall back into old habits than it is to create new habits. It's easier when you know what's going to happen to protect yourself from what's going to happen. I'm challenging all of you to change, okay? I mean, I promise you, I'm changing all the time. As long as I'm breathing, you're not going to see Chris Coop standing still. I might be working on my marriage. I might be working on my relationship with my kids. I might be working on my relationship with God, okay? But Chris Coop's going to change. And once you've done that a number of times, you know what's coming. You've got to prepare yourself. I'm going to have regret. It's going to be easier to fall back to old habits, okay? I'm putting up my walls now to protect myself from that. I'm going through my daily schedule in my head. You've got to set yourself up where you can succeed, where you don't fall into those bad habits, okay? The key is accountability. Either you hold yourself accountable or you getting somebody else to hold you accountable. Rarely are we good enough to hold ourselves accountable. If you are, that's awesome. But I'm just going to challenge you. You might want to set some other barriers up that protect you against that, okay? And then the cool thing is, once you get the benefits of change, you've created a habit, You can start seeing the results, your confidence growing, your team's growing. That's when it gets exciting. Okay. Rewards grow. That's the magic.